Hello, and welcome to another lab series video. We haven't done one of these in quite a long time. I think mainly because we've been working on lots of fine-tuning and things like that. But we released a big change, a bunch of new APIs related to our token and customer management system last night. So I thought I would do kind of a deep dive video about that. For those of you who have never seen one of our lab series videos before, they're kind of sort of informal technical deep dives into certain features or aspects of the system. They're not necessarily meant to be sales pitches, just sort of explainers of how something works. And so even though BlockChyp has historically been focused on mostly conventional retail card present transactions, we've always had a tokenizing system. We've always had a customer database. But I want to go into a little more detail now that we've essentially expanded that and made it a little bit more powerful than it used to be. And you can essentially use the tokenization in the customer system for two different things. One is recurring payments. You can enroll a token and you can enroll a card in the system, save a token, use it for recurring payments, associate with a customer record. You can also use it to sort of identify customers sort of passively. So if you send customer data, with a normal transaction, and then that card is used again, you can easily identify, hey, this is this customer returning, without needing to sort of ask the customer any questions. And I'll demonstrate both of those. So just to give you kind of a orientation, I have a simple developer test account set up. I've got a terminal activated and online. You can see that it's called test terminal. We haven't run any transactions yet, so a very vanilla configuration. So I'll start by I'm going to do all the demos today with the command line interface, which is part of the Go SDK if you want to mess with it. Tends to be easier to do demos that way, but every feature I'm showing you with the command line interface is also exposed via the REST APIs and all of the SDKs for all the different languages. So I'll go ahead and just do a simple test to make sure this terminal is talking to me. Okay. Let's do a simple ping. And yeah, as you can see, I've got a success true. That means the terminal is online. So the next thing that we're going to do is do a simple token enrollment. So this is basically how you would just tokenize a card. We're not going to associate any customer information this time around. We're just going to tokenize a card. So to do that, you would do very similar. I'm using the test flag because I'm using a test merchant account. For those of you familiar with PCI, we have to route test and live transactions to different servers. That's why we do it that way. So if you want to tokenize a card, we call that enroll, as in enrolling in the token vault. And that's really all there is to it. Like if you just want to do a simple basic tokenization, this is all you have to do. And now you can see the terminal wakes up and asks me for a card. I'll put a card in. Oh, didn't like that. Try it again. There we go. And so now I have a token. And so if you sift through the JSON here, you can see the token is right there. That's the details. And if you want to store information about this card, just to have it on file, you've got a cardholder field, you've got the masked pan, you've got the type, and the expiration information. So now if I wanted to use this token in a transaction, all I would do is, we don't need a terminal this time. We call type equals charge, which is going to do a normal charge transaction. Token equals, we're going to copy this token over and put it right there. And we're going to put an amount, like maybe $5. Oh, I mistyped this here. And now it's run the transaction. So I've got a response back. I've got an auth code. I've got everything I need. So that's how you do a very, very basic recurring transaction in BlockChyp. Well, let's make this a little bit more interesting. Let's maybe do this again, but let's associate it with a customer record. So I'm going to go back up to my original enroll transaction, but now I'm going to add some customer information. Let's do, and I'll show you all the things that you can put in here. So you can do first name, last name, company name. You can do phone number, email, all that stuff. But we'll just do the basics of last name, first name right now. And so now what I'll do is I'll go ahead and enroll a different card with the same stuff. So you see the terminal wakes up. So now I'm going to insert the card. And you can see it's approved. And a couple things have changed here. You'll notice that in the response, I got back this customer record. So it shows me the ID that we assigned it. It shows me the first name, last name, and the company name assigned to this. So now we have a customer record. Now, if I go in here into the portal and I go into Merchant Tools and I look at customers, now you can see here's that customer. And if I click on that, you can see it's got a save payment method in here for this person. And I can even run a transaction from the portal with this save payment method if I need to, kind of like the saved payment method equivalent of the virtual terminal. And that's how it would work. I won't do it because it's more of a developer demo, but that's basically how the system works. I can also go in here and modify the details about this customer if I need to. So now I have a customer record, but I also have a token. So what I'm going to do is show you a couple of APIs that you can use essentially to say, hey, tell me about this token or tell me about this customer. It can kind of go in both directions. We'll start with the token. So if I have, again, this is test. We're going to type is going to be called token metadata. If I could type correctly, that would be helpful. And I'll put that token in there. And now it's going to tell me, you can see it gives me a response that shows me, hey, this token exists. Here's some information about it. And these are the customers associated with this token. Because there could be more than one, theoretically. Let's go the other direction. Let's say I have a customer ID. And let's see if I can get a list of payment methods via the API that are associated with that. So I would go to BlockChyp, test, type, get customer, and then customer ID. And it kind of works in the other direction. So now you can see it gives me the customer information. It gives me the payment methods associated with this customer via the tokens. Now, if I wanted to, let's say that outside the context of a payment transaction, I wanted to update information about this customer. What I could do is there's another API called predictably update customer. So what I'll do is let's say that I suddenly have an email address now for this customer and I want to add it to their record. So what I'll do is type update customer. And again, all of this, it works a little bit differently with the SDKs and the APIs, but it's all the same thing. You just have to look at the docs to see exactly how it works for your platform. So I'll have to pass this customer ID back in. This time I'll add email address is equal to jared@piper.hbo. Must have mistyped something. Okay, so just to recap, type is update customer. I just pass in the customer ID, the new bit of information I want to add to it, pass in his email, and then there it goes. And you can see that it just added that. And if I go back in here and refresh this, now it's got the email address in here as well. So that's good. All right, let's go back. Let's just do now I'm going to show you how you can, if you happen to have tokens you already have that you want to link with customers after the fact. Maybe you didn't pass in customer information with the original enroll transaction, or any of that. There are ways to deal with that. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to create another token, and the token is, so that's the enroll command, and that does require a terminal. And I'm going to grab a card I don't use very often so that it's distinct from what we have been using. I'll use a JCB card. Oh, I haven't enabled JCB for this merchant account. Don't worry about that. Let's go to, just use a MasterCard. And I'll swipe it just so it's different than what we already have on file. Okay, so we have a token now. So this is our token. We could use that for payments. Now what I want to do is I want to link it with the customer record we have on file. So I'm going to go, I can cheat by grabbing the customer record from the URL here, the customer ID rather. And so this API allows, if you have a customer and you have a token but they're not associated with each other, this allows you to link them together. So I'll do BlockChyp test, since this is a test merchant account. Type is the command type I'm doing, link token. And then I just pass in customer ID and the token. And the token I have right here. And poof, all I just get is the basic success true that it worked. So to verify that it worked, what I can do is I can look at metadata. So let's start with, I can look at the customer and the token and make sure they both know about each other. So I'll do token metadata and the token ID. I already have my clipboard. That runs, and you can see now it knows that it's associated with the Jarrett Dunn record. Also works the same way if I go in the opposite direction. So if I go to get customer and I pass in the customer ID, I should get the exact same thing. Don't want that anymore. And there's the customer ID. And there it is. You can see I've got the multiple tokens associated with this customer record now. So that's a good opportunity to demonstrate going in the other direction. Let's say that you want to break the association between, maybe you have too many tokens associated with this customer. Maybe you want to eliminate a few of those things. Well, you have a similar API where you can unlink a token, and it's just called unlink token. And we'll pass in the customer ID we already have. And let's get rid of that 4111 card. And so the token has been disassociated. So if I go back up and run that get customer record again, you can see the token's not there anymore. But I can also add it back, right? So if I go back to my unlink token command and just change it to token, because I do want to demonstrate something here real quick. Then the token is back. And you can see now I'm back to 2 tokens on this customer record. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is demonstrate what happens when a payment method that has been previously enrolled as a token is presented for payment, but without any customer information. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run a normal charge transaction from the terminal, like this. Let's give it a terminal name. And let's give it an amount of, how about $42. And now the terminal wakes up. I'm going to present this card that I've used previously. And it works. So I have an approved response back, and that's good. But you'll notice I also have customer information. So our system knows that this card has been used before for a customer. And so you can see you get that extra data down here. Now, you'll notice that there's a customer reference, which is the most relevant one. And then you also have customers, right? Now, the customers singular here, this is kind of deprecated. It's preserved for backwards compatibility. But one of the modifications we made in this release is that you have the ability it is possible for a single method of payment to be associated with multiple customers. So that's essentially how that works. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to show you how to search customers. We do have kind of a fuzzy search available for that. So you would do test equals, well, you need test. Then the type is, for the CLI, is search customer. And then you just have kind of a fuzzy query parameter. So you do query, and then this can be anything. It can be company name. So if I just type in Dunn for query, you can see it returns the result for Jarrett Dunn. If I type HBO, it returns nothing, right? Because it's not that fuzzy. But if I go into, say, Pied Piper, that works. So it starts with is a good match. So all that stuff kind of works. Something else you have the option to pass in is this thing called customer ref. This is essentially your identifier for a customer. So if in a production system, if you want to pass in customer records, customer information on a routine basis as part of every transaction, I strongly recommend you always pass in a customer ref. And the reason for that is if for some reason the customer has been seen before, if we've seen that customer reference before, then we will update the existing record as opposed to create new ones. So that's the best way to prevent like lots of duplicate records from being created. Okay, so we've shown you how to to do tokenization both with customers and without, how to update customer records, how to link them together, how to search them, how to link and unlink tokens, how to sort of get implicit customer information back from a payment transaction. So now we're just going to show you how to destroy things. So in a situation, hopefully you never have to do this, but sometimes we have to delete customer records because they're no longer helpful. Or maybe we want to remove a token. A customer says, hey, lose my number, and you need to delete the token. That's pretty easy. So what I'll do is I'll go up here and I'll delete the token that we used. We'll do this one. So I'll grab that, throw it on my clipboard. And then the command is going to be, also I'm passing in the test flag. Note, it's not a terminal transaction. It's going to be delete token. And then we just pass in the token. Now the token is gone. Simple as that. Customer records, it's the same thing. There is a delete customer option. And it works almost the exact same way. So I would do BlockChyp, test, type, keep typing equals there. And then customer ID. And let's find the customer ID for Jared, which is right here. And now he's gone. So we've kind of gone full circle here. So that's basically how you do tokens and how you do customers, how you manage the relationships between all of them. While we're in here, I will show you one more feature that got added to the API as part of this release, and that is you can now search transaction history. So if I were to go to, there is a transaction search, and that's TX history. And the same thing, you pass in a query, and in this case I'm going to pass in 411 for the last 4 of the card number. And it shows me a JSON response that shows me every time that a transaction matching that criteria has been used, and that's kind of a new thing. So it used to be that you could only just, basically you could use the transaction history API to pull down, hey, show me all the transactions between this date and this date, or in this batch, that kind of thing, or for this terminal. But now you've got this fuzzy search capability. So that's essentially it for this release. This is the 1.18 release, if you're keeping track. These are some of the big new features. We are working on a few new things like the branding API. Not just the branding API, but the branding user interface, how you control logos and slideshows and video on the terminal. That's all getting kind of reworked prior to the holiday code freeze. And so the next time you hear from me, it will be about the new branding system. But that's it. Thanks for watching this far, and we'll see you next time on the Lab Series.